Ladies and gentlemen, we're just about to begin our Escambia County Redevelopment Agency meeting. If you could take your seats, thank you.
Escambia County Redevelopment Agency regular meeting, May 2nd, 2022, 9 o'clock a.m. Please turn your cell phone to vibrate silence or the off setting. Board of County Commission allows any person to speak regarding an item on the agenda. A speaker shall refrain from abusive, profane remarks, disruptive outbursts, or other conduct which interferes with the orderly conduct of the meeting. Is there proof of publication?
Yes, there's proof of publication. The CRA meeting has been properly published through the Escambia Sun Press on April 28, 2022.
All right. Are there any speakers for public forum?
No, sir.
Director Long, Technical and Public Service.
Thank you. Good morning. We have two items under the Technical and Public Service. The first is a recommendation concerning the Community Redevelopment Agency meeting minutes, March 3rd, 2022. And the second is a recommendation concerning the Community Redevelopment Agency annual financial report fiscal year 2020 through 2021 for your review and approval.
Move the Technical Public Service agenda.
I have a motion. Second, please vote. Just raise your hand. I'm sure nothing works. That passes unanimously with Commissioner Underhill off the dais. It's linked to the air conditioner. Okay, yeah, well, it's been linked for at least the last 8 years to non-performing. Budget and finance consent?
Yes, I have two items under that. The first recommendation is concerning the residential rehab grant program funding and lien agreements, and there are A and B for your review and approval. And the second recommendation is concerning the residential roof program funding and lien agreement, and there's an A and B for your review and approval.
Move 1 and 2, A and B.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Bender. We have a motion by Commissioner Bender, second by Commissioner McGosh. Please vote.
Aye.
That passes 4 in favor with Commissioner Underhill off the dais. Director Long,
That concludes my agenda for today.
is there anything for discussion?
No, sir.
All right. I know it's not in the CRA, Robert, but is there a new logo on the beach ball? No.
Hey, I will say this, though. The guys that are out there working on that, they have been through a lot. When they first started is when we got the cold temperatures. We've had horrendous weather events coming through, and they've been out there working. So I think we're still on track to finish it by the end of this month, and look forward to having it open and the parking lot completely open.
Thank you. If there's nothing else, Mr. Chairman, we stand adjourned.
Thank you, Commissioner May. And as soon as I get the high sign from the back room, we'll go ahead and start our next meeting, probably about 30 seconds or so. Oh, that was quick. Thank you, Andy. All right, good morning, Board of County Commissioners. Regular meeting agenda review session, May 5th, 2022 in the morning. It's about 9:10. Please turn your cell phone to the vibrate, silence, or off setting. The Board of County Commissioners allows any person to speak regarding an item on the agenda. The speaker is limited to 3 minutes unless otherwise determined by the chairman to allow sufficient time for all speakers. Speakers shall refrain from abusive or profane remarks, disruptive outbursts, protests, or other behavior which interferes with the orderly conduct of the meeting. Of course, all that applies to this evening when we have speakers. This morning's a workshop for the board. So we'll go through things rather quickly because we don't want to be redundant. This evening, Commissioner Barry, you will have the invocation. Okay, Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner May, would you bring the pledge? Okay, Commissioner May. Okay, items added to the agenda. I've added a whole bunch. I believe they're all in Civic Clerk, but Madam Attorney will go right down the row.
I have fed everything into the agenda, but there is a very strong possibility that the deed conveyance for the TPO's Traffic Management Center at the Public Safety Campus, I believe I can do that as an add-on during the day today.
Fantastic. That's a very important project,
Yeah.
so hopefully that can get done. And nothing else from you? Commissioner Bender, any add-ons?
No, sir.
Commissioner Barry? Commissioner May? No, sir. Wes? Okay, rocking and rolling. Commissioners Forum, we'll start with you. Commissioner Bender, you're recognized.
I'll save it for tonight.
Okay, and Commissioner Barry? Commissioner May? No, sir. Yeah, and I'll save my comments for this evening as well for Commissioners Forum. Wes, anything for this morning? No. Very good. Okay, proclamations. We will have our series of proclamations this evening. Any questions on any of these proclamations? I'll tell you, animal welfare. I'm assuming John was going to give those. Okay, just John Robinson. B, of course, we'll be ratifying B, and I'll be presenting that tomorrow. Correctional Officers Week, Rich Powell, okay. Emergency Medical Services Week, David Torcell, I'm assuming? Yep, okay. And then Kevin Barnes on his retirement, dedicated service, who will be presenting? Separately? Okay, we'll ratify that one. And then we'll ratify the proclamation recognizing the Cox Communications for 53 Escambia County Inspirational Student Heroes. We'll ratify that one. All right.
And Jeff, I think they're also going to be here for that. They're going to be here for that presentation.
So we're going to make that tonight?
Yeah.
Would you like to present that?
Yeah, I'll present that.
Okay, Commissioner Bender will present that one. We'll do that this evening. It says ratify next to it. Okay. Written communication, Allison, you're recognized.
Certainly. The written communication is in District 3 this time. There's just one of them. This is Gemini 21 Land Trust. It's requesting relief from 3 code enforcement liens against prior owners of its property at 407 West Jordan Street. And for what it's worth, they did previously get some relief on 2 of the 3 liens from the administrator, but they did not take advantage of that because they need relief from all 3. So that relief has now lapsed, and they are before you tonight. Gemini 21 appears to speculate in distressed properties, and in June of 2021, purchased a portfolio of 13 properties from a company called 5T Wealth Partners, who also appears to speculate in distressed properties and is one of the violators named in these 3 liens for a total portfolio price of $92,500. And it appears that there was limited search of the title on these properties because it turned out that there were liens. 2 of the liens arose on other properties. One of those is 341 Washburn and the other one is 205 Webb Street, and then they attached to 407 West Jordan Street. The county administrator previously reviewed the request for lien relief in January of 2022 and also in March of 2022 and authorized relief from 2 of the 3 liens. But because he was unable under our policy to provide relief on the 3rd lien, they haven't taken advantage of any relief. It's lapsed, and Gemini 21 had indicated in its letter it's willing to pay something in return for getting all 3 liens taken care of. They have it's a fairly significant amount. The 407 West Jordan Street property has a lien based on violations against that specific property in the amount of $26,900 total, and that's broken down into various pieces: administrative fines, county abatement, and court costs. But then there are 2 other liens, one at 341 Washburn, the one at 205 Webb Street. Also, both of those, each one's $22,000 plus, the other one's $33,000 plus, and they are attaching to the 407 West Jordan Street property. These properties are assessed, the 407 West Jordan Street property assessed at $7,969. One of these, I believe, has an open case still. That's 341 Washburn. Still has an active code enforcement case against it. And the relief by Gemini 21 is specific to 407 West Jordan Street, but I can certainly look into whatever you
Well,
guys.
Al, the chairman's not here, I guess. Vice chairman's not here, so I guess we can talk. But Tim, there's still an open case on this?
There's an open case on a property that's not owned by this person, that has
But
spidered.
is it tied to these properties?
It's tied to it, it's spidered across to it. So the property where they're asking for relief is currently cleaned off. They had offered to
How's
pay-
the other property tied to it, Tim?
It was all previously under a different owner that allowed a number of properties to go into disarray. And this new company purchased this property, and since they don't have any ability to correct the property they don't own, they're asking the board for help. They have offered to pay $8,050 in consideration to have this relieved.
So, is it time sensitive?
Not to my
Mr. Chairman, I'll tell you, I have, homeowners come in and they have a piece of property and we have soft costs. I mean, I'm all for waiving them. These big box companies that buy them, I mean, in other municipalities, when you're waiving these type of liens, people are dedicating those properties to affordable housing and the good of the community. This, to me, is not black and white. It's a little gray because there are other properties tied to it. If we can drop it and let me work with Wes in the next week to have that discussion, because at face value, I've probably ended my term of voting to forgive these costs to big box guys at land bank property when we can't get affordable housing
I
in our
agree with you
district.
100%. I'm happy to drop it. Wes, any problems dropping it? Okay, we're dropping it tonight. Stephen, you
Thank you.
recognize?
So the previous relief that was offered is expired? That offer
Yes.
is expired?
They let it lapse.
Commissioner, I'm fine with that. I'm also fine with denying.
Okay.
Yep, whichever way you want to go
Yeah,
tonight.
because I agree with what you're saying. I mean, you know, this is private, this is private equity. That's just, that's targeting distressed issues and you know,
Well, they get it for pennies on the dollar, saying that you go back and get it waived, and
and
then.
didn't even do the title work that would have,
Right.
Bingo.
would have been necessary.
Absolutely.
You know, and they have, these, this is private equity groups. They have general counsels. They have multiple general counsels, and you know, they just it would appear as if they just disregarded us and our community, as in they don't even have to do those basic things. That's how it would seem.
Absolutely. And Commissioner Berry, for further discussion, Mr. Chairman, at a later date, there's some municipalities that are using these liens to address the issue of affordable and attainable housing. So every time we waive it, it's almost.
Takes that money away.
Takes that money away. And so if it's a citizen or a local person that's trying to improve it and, they got it from their grandmother, that's one thing. A big box equity company is a whole different conversation for me.
So Lumen, you're in the driver's seat. Do you want to drop it?
Can I
wanna
drop
drop
it
it?
and we'll bring it back? But
Drop it,
I'm
please.
probably not going to support it. I could just tell you
But you'll
that.
take some time to look into it.
Yeah, I'll give them the respect of looking into it.
Okay, very good. Then we will drop it tonight. Very good. Moving forward, did the clerk's office receive the proofs of publication?
Mr. Chairman, the clerk's office has received all proofs.
And where was it published? It's my favorite
Escambia
part of
Sun
the
Press.
Escambia Sun Press. Thank you very much for that. Clerk's report. Pam, you're recognized.
Thank you. I have two simple items on the report today. One is the investment report for March, and the other one is minutes and reports that we've prepared. Thank you, sir.
Fantastic. Any questions for the clerk's report? Seeing none, we're going to move forward. Horace, you recognized? And Allison, do you want to give us I know we can't talk specifics. Is this where you want to give us number one? We're going to move GMR 2 forward. That's a little more straightforward tonight than some of our GMR 1 items. Do you want to give that primer we talked about yesterday?
Absolutely. So, and I don't want to get ahead of Horace, you've got a 545, 546, and 547. Those hearings are future land use amendments, and I'm not specifically worried about those. But your 548 public hearing is a first-tier quasi-judicial hearing, and it has been a very long time since this board had one of those. That means that the preservation of the record and the decision on this matter needs to be made based on the record you create this evening during the public hearing. Please do not substantively get into the case this morning. There is a conditional use involved that's necessary in order for this particular project to go forward, and you are the first-tier decision makers on the conditional use as well as the issuance of the permit. So just as a quick refresher, I want to talk to you just a little bit about quasi-judicial. The first thing that we'll do is we'll go down the row and ask each commissioner about site visits, ex parte communications, town hall meetings, anything like that. As a reminder, it's not illegal if those things occurred. But what is an issue is that it could be a due process problem if the parties involved are not able to be made aware of that. Also, you should be willing to disclose the nature of it. I went to a town hall meeting and there were some people who expressed their opinions about it, or, just the general nature of what happened. Or someone asked to meet with me, but I declined the ask. I declined the invitation to attend a meeting, or whatever just the general nature of what the communications were. And then after we do that, the staff will be presenting their case. If you'll see, there's a significant amount of backup. Witnesses are going to need to be sworn in. It's a first-tier quasi-judicial, so I've spoken with the clerk's representative, Delana, and she's indicated that she can help us with that. So fact witnesses have to be sworn in. That includes your staff people. It does not include the attorneys. Remember, attorneys are not giving you testimony, they're giving you argument. So they can point you to evidence, but they don't provide evidence. So we don't need attorneys sworn in. Your decision on this case, on the conditional use, needs to be made on competent, substantial evidence that's in the record, presented in the hearing.
Okay.
And what that means is you need to vote to accept evidence into the record. You can certainly do more than one piece of evidence at a time. So for example, you could vote to accept into the record all of the staff's backup as evidence in the case. You can do that with one motion. I'm fine with that. But it does need to be officially in the record in order for, if this goes across the street. There are multiple attorneys who are invested in this, so I am highly anticipating that there's going to be some importance to making sure that things get put into the record and that kind of thing.
Thank you for that. And I do understand that these hearings, sometimes, if they don't go the way a certain party wants, they will go back and look at the process. That's why tonight
Yeah.
at the meeting, we're going to do the same thing again. It's going to be like Groundhog Day. Allison, I'm going to have you give the same primer on exactly how it's going to go, and I'm going to ask that you hold me as the chairman on a very tight leash. I mean, give me the gong if I do anything wrong.
You can never err by giving parties more time
Okay.
for whatever that's worth.
Yes, ma'am.
The staff does have a recommendation. It is in your backup.
Yes,
My
I've read it.
recommendation to you is when you get to the point, assuming you get there tonight, if you get to the point of a final motion and final action, start with the staff recommendation and either accept it
Yep.
as your own motion, or amend it appropriately, or reject it and substitute your own. But it's a great starting point because it does address your criteria, and so that would be a great way to get an acceptable motion.
And not getting into the facts of the case.
Not
That's
this
an
one.
important distinction, and each of us, I'm sure, have read the backup and understand what that staff recommendation will do if we adopt it as a practical matter to the issue at hand. So we all got to be really understanding what the staff recommendation is before tonight's meeting, and then whoever crafts the motion. So understanding all that, Lumen, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I certainly will have the responsibility of making a motion because it's in my district tonight, Allison. But the citizens, do they have to be sworn in as well?
Yes, if they are going to speak.
And
It-
they can only speak if they, right?
No, this did not go to the planning board. That's why I'm telling you, you are.
No. If they are given some sort of competent, didn't you tell me yesterday they have to?
Right, so-
They can't just get up and say, I don't like it 'cause.
So my advice would be, don't prevent anyone from testifying, but your decision can only be based on competent, substantial evidence.
Not their feelings about it.
Generalized dissent or support, or a petition, or just generalized unhappiness or happiness with a proposed project, that's not competent, substantial evidence. I wouldn't prevent it from
But
from
don't
being
consider
put
it
into the
when you-
record, but that's not what your decision is supposed to be based upon.
But Allison, when you say that you don't err with extending the times, I mean, who determines whether or not that someone is speaking from emotions or facts? And how do?
You do.
We do.
You do.
But we're going to give the citizens the same amount of time that we give everybody, the lawyers, correct?
Well, not necessarily. It needs to be reasonable. It needs to be a reasonable amount of time. Typically, I would say.
I've already had one of these meetings.
Yeah, I understand.
It's-
So typically, the party / the applicant owner is going to need to be given a reasonable amount of time to present their case. And what's reasonable, I mean, that can be part of a discussion with, they may or may not come with counsel. That's a discussion you can have. I mean, I would say that anybody who qualifies as a party, which is going to be somebody more than just someone with an interest. It's going to need to be somebody who's got some real investment in the outcome. They should probably be given a fair, reasonable amount of time. You can certainly limit it, but you don't ever err by giving more.
No, we're going to give them the time they need.
Yes, sir.
Stephen, you ready?
Yeah, Allison, I don't think you mentioned this, but isn't it the case where even a non-attorney, non-staff member, if they could be deemed an expert by the board?
Absolutely. So expert witnesses, in order for you to be able to take an opinion about something, like compatible or incompatibility with land uses. To accept someone's opinion on that matter, they need to be considered an expert. And to be an expert, you as a board would want to accept them as an expert. And
How do you do that? How do you acknowledge
so,
that?
so typically what would happen is you would have somebody explain to you why they think they're an expert. I have a degree in biology, and I have served as a professional biologist at the University of West Florida for 15 years, and I've been accepted as an expert witness by 3 courts.
Do you do that when they're sworn in or after, directly after?
So
When?
I would say, once they begin to testify, then, you know.
I need to ask them?
Well, typically, they would ask for it at the beginning of their testimony. If they do not, and later in their testimony, they're giving what would appear to be an expert opinion about something, we can jump in and say, are you asking to be accepted as an expert witness? If they say yes, then we can ask them more questions. What is your education? What are your credentials? Have you ever been accepted as an expert witness? That kind of thing, and then you all can take a vote and decide if they're an expert witness or not.
So just drawing from some years on the planning board where you would see this is a common occurrence because the planning board would normally be, or, you know, especially in the dynamic of rezonings and future, that's who would hear these cases before us. So this is a pretty basic part of those meetings. The way that, you know, whoever was chairing the meeting normally would do it there. Before the testimony is given, if whoever is making comments is wanting to be considered an expert, you would give them an opportunity to state what she said, then the board would take a vote before they gave their
That's ideal.
testimony is what.
Sure, that's
we
ideal.
normally do.
It's just sometimes, you know, these things sometimes do get a life of their own. But ideally, yeah, you do that at the outset.
Robert, you recognized?
Is there a way when they register out front that for this item, they could indicate if they wish to be considered as an expert?
It's
Or-
probably a little clunky because
Okay.
a lot of times people don't know what that means, but for purposes of the record, it does mean something.
So we'll have you give
It's-
the opinion of what it is first.
Yeah, it's
Just like
gonna-
today, we're going to do this morning again. We've got to be redundant. We've got to get it done right.
Yeah, and it's going to be narrow subject matter. It's going to be, you know, the sciences or planning or, I mean, it's just, you know.
Okay, so anything else this morning,
Unhappiness.
gentlemen, on the procedure of tonight?
That's for the 548.
548, okay, so we'll go back, I'm sorry, guys, we'll go backwards, and we'll go back to the 545. Horace, you're recognized.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Commissioner. Chairman, board members, again, we have 545, future land use. This is a small-scale map amendment. We have 546, again, a small-scale map amendment. We have 547, again, a small-scale map amendment.
And Horace, on all 3 of those, they seem to be like this.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
There's
They are
some-
basically the general same area,
Yeah.
but it's just the way the rule of the land, the way the land is worked out.
And is the
each one.
intention that we're going to put some more residential in the change of the,
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's the intent.
were these already considered by the planning board?
Yes, sir. Yes, it was.
Approved?
Yeah,
Okay.
yes, it was. Yes, it was.
Let's see, Stephen, you're recognized. Nope. Any other questions for Horace on those 3?
These, yeah.
All right, Horace,
The
moving on.
548, which was already discussed.
Yep, and then,
At length.
and then again this evening, Horace, we're going to, just to make it easy for everyone, if you guys don't mind, we're going to go ahead and pull GMR 2 forward, do
Yes.
that first.
Okay.
And then we'll start with that. So GMR 2-1, Horace?
Yes, then we have the adoption for review for a final plat, Bentley Oaks, Unit 4, Phase 3.
Okay, Stephen, that's your district. Any issues on that? No? Okay.
Then
All
we
right.
have Nautical Landing, again,
That's in
final
mine.
plat to review.
No issues?
Then we have, number 3 is an at-large reappointment or appointment to the planning board. As you can see, the names that are mentioned below.
Okay.
Then we have an at-large reappointment for the Board of Adjustments with the names as referenced below, candidates as referenced below. Then we do have our consent agenda for June the 2nd, 2022.
Thank you, Horace. Any questions on this from the board? All right, thank you, Horace. We'll see you tonight. County Administrator's Report. Wes, you recognized? You want to just go through these quickly one by one?
Sure, that'd be
All
fine.
right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Number 1 is concerning Community Redevelopment Agency minutes. Number 2 is concerning Community Redevelopment Agency Annual Financial Report. Number 3 is the scheduling of a public hearing to repeal County Ordinance Number 2020-24 and to establish the Inter-Arity Point Park Vessel Exclusion Zone Ordinance.
I have a question on that one. Chips, can you please come forward? This is now a part of District 1, so I just want to make sure that what we're doing, as I read the backup, it said that from the state statutes perspective, what we did locally was null and void because it was not appropriately done. Is that about the long and short of it? We're not able to make that ordinance?
That's correct.
Okay.
We submitted our rationale for the exclusion zone at the kayak launch, and
Okay.
the state rejected it.
They rejected it. So who am I going to get the angry phone calls from on this?
I don't know that you're going to get any because for paddlecraft launching, most of the people use the area to the east or west of the existing
Okay.
Galvez boat ramp. It's a long walk to park your vehicle at the parking lot at Inter-Arity Point Park and then carry your paddlecraft all the way out to the end of that dock to put it in the water when you can do so on a sandy beach launch right.
So this board action tonight, what does this do to make the situation better, or does it do anything?
It just expands the swim area to the entire area around the pier.
Around the pier, and the boaters next door, any impact on them whatsoever?
No, sir, it would take the Inter-Arity Point Park Pier, the entire interior area between the pier and the shoreline, make that a swimming exclusion zone, which would be an exclusion for all vessels inside that area.
Okay.
And then it would also prevent anyone from trying to dock or moor a vessel for any purposes on that dock.
Is that where they're going to run? Is that where the angry phone calls are coming from, the boat captains who are not going to have room over at the Galvez Landing?
I don't think so, but anything's possible, sir.
Are they currently? Well, wait, the pier's destroyed right now. When's that
Correct.
going to get?
They're not losing anything. It's just that they would not be able to use that facility for those purposes once it is constructed.
Once it is constructed. Okay, Robert, you recognize?
Yeah, so this is ultimately a repeal and replace, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, guys. Anything else? All right. Please continue, Wes.
All right, number 4 is concerning the memorandum of understanding with the Chicago School of Professional Psychology online. Number 5 is concerning the schedule of a public hearing for the proposed grant application for Federal Transit Administration. Number 6 is a recommendation concerning the conveyance of real property located on Pennsylvania Drive to ECUA. Number 7 is a recommendation concerning the conveyance of a utility easement located on Shoal Creek Drive to ECUA. Number 8 is concerning the Bell South Telecommunications LLC utility license agreement. 9 is a recommendation concerning the naming the new Station 2 fire station for Dwayne Bradshaw and Steve McNair.
All right. Any questions on that? Okay, we'll move forward.
All right, CAR 2-1, recommendation concerning the residential rehab grant program for funding and lien agreements. Number 2 is recommendation concerning rescinding the residential rehab grant program funding and lien agreements for property located at 403 Southeast Circle Drive. 3 is concerning residential roof program funding and lien agreements. 4 is concerning the issuance of a purchase order in excess of $25,000 to Game Time. 5 is concerning the award of a contract for PD 21-22.025 Pensacola and Perdido Bay Estuaries Program. We will actually be dropping this item tonight.
Jeff, just so.
Yes,
I would expect this to come in front of the estuary board before it comes back before us.
Okay, good. Yeah, my understanding, there was only 2 bidders and, so there's some issues with it. So we'll see what happens with it.
Yep, we'll see.
Yep. All right. Drop it tonight. Yep. All right.
Number 6 is concerning approval of an amendment to the Visit Pensacola, Inc. miscellaneous appropriations agreement. 7 is concerning Pitney Bowes digital mailing system lease. 8 is concerning Escambia County Corrections uniform contract. 9 is concerning change order number 1 to purchase order number 220993 for Georgetown Technical Center.
Can we stop there for 1 second?
Sure.
Director Powell, would you mind coming forward? I just had a question on this. Just to understand what's going on here. Is this to allow capacity for additional training for our corrections officers?
It's an additional academy as well as some retraining that has to be done.
Have you noticed, I noticed there was a very good report on Channel 3 last night about some of the progress being made in the jail. Have you, do you have anything to report on that in terms of morale or additional hiring, or if that bonus that we've put in place is helping, or the additional salary? I mean,
It
what's,
definitely seems to be making an effect. We're seeing a steadily increase of people coming through the door and processing applications. Right now, we're down to 77 vacancies. We were near 100 just a few months ago. We've got one academy graduating next week, another one starting this week, one projected for next summer, this summer.
Okay.
And hopefully one in the fall, which would bring us down in a much more manageable number.
in each academy, they can't run more than one simultaneously, right? It's
No,
one, it's a one.
Well, this one's buttoned up to each other, and that was a push.
Okay.
And it's about instructor availability through the academy.
Okay, very good.
Yes.
And let me just ask you this, because it's been an issue that I've been following closely. As of right now, how many inmates, and I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot, but if you don't have the exact number, if you could send it to me later, how many inmates are still in the old?
The last number I had was in the 400s.
Still in the 400s?
So it's where we're still, our population is starting to climb through the summer numbers, so it's still where it was when we made, we're at 700, we've pushed down to 400, and that's about where we're going to have to stay until we get some other relief.
Okay, thank you for the report. Any other
Yes, sir.
questions for him? Thank you, Chief. Appreciate that. All right, West?
Number 10 is concerning State Law Enforcement Trust Fund. 11 is concerning supplemental budget amendment for fiscal year 2022 reimbursements. 12 is concerning the issuance of a fiscal year purchase order in excess of $25,000 to PC Specialists doing business as Technology Integration Group. 13 is concerning the issuance of fiscal year 21-22 purchase order in excess of $25,000 to PC Specialists. 14 is concerning the purchase of one John Deere Gator for the Parks and Recreation Division. 15 is concerning the purchase of 3 Ford Explorers for engineering and traffic and construction management. 16 is concerning the purchase of one 2022 AT-41M bucket truck for engineering and traffic.
Yes, Robert, you're
Thanks.
recognized.
Wes, I had heard that there was some, when we sometimes do an approval or route shopping for a vehicle, the time that it takes from when they identify the vehicle to the time it's actually approved for purchase, we might be missing out, or, things aren't sticking around, they're not really giving us a lot of time to get back to them. Have you heard about that, or?
It seems to me that one of our challenges is the time when we order the vehicle. With the market being the way it is right now, it may take a year to get it. It may take a year and a half. Jamie's been pretty successful at targeting vehicles that are in stock. And this one we're buying directly from the manufacturer, and I don't know what the lead time on it is. I would assume it's probably close to 8 to 10 months, but that seems to be our biggest challenge when we're purchasing vehicles.
This particular truck, we had it in the works, and we got in the queue for Altech, and then once we got it all in approval, if you approve it, then we're in line, and we're talking about probably November, December to get the truck.
All right, so if you're out shopping and you see something on the lot, is it gone before you can get our approval?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is there a way that we can?
We can set a not to exceed. Can we set a not to exceed, Allison, and then give him the authority?
If there's I think we need to be able to adapt.
Yeah, absolutely.
In some way to allow us not to have a 8-month lag time on.
Yeah,
getting
no,
a
I
vehicle.
agree with you.
Well, I would say that Jamie does a great job of what he just said, of getting in the queue and talking to these vendors. We know what our needs are. Same way with the dump trucks and some other types of equipment. So we kind of get in the queue, if you will.
Okay.
And then as soon as y'all approve, then we
pull
issue
the
the
trigger.
purchase order and we get them on the way.
Okay. Is that working, Jamie, for you?
So far.
All
You
right,
don't, you don't need any additional?
Let me do a little more research into it, and I'll bring it up at another meeting if I need to. All right, thanks.
Yeah, all right, sounds good. Thanks, Wes. All right, please continue.
17 is concerning approval to issue a fiscal year blanket purchase order in excess of $25,000 for waste services. 18 is a contract award for debris hauling.
Like we discussed yesterday and then again this morning, Wes, there is a little bit of consternation from one of the vendors on this, so there could be some discussion tonight.
Sure.
Yeah, I think we will. Yeah, let's hold number 18 for discussion. All right, thank you. Please continue.
19 is concerning the grant agreement providing fiscal year 2022 enhanced mobility of seniors and individuals with disabilities. 21 is the contract approval for the Century Courthouse roof replacement.
Can I ask you a question on that one? How, wait, were we on, I was reading, was this a building in Century, or is this a building, I was reading where the courthouse, somewhere in the backup, it was.
That's a Century Courthouse.
Okay, it is a Century Court, but it's our facility, we own it?
Well, we maintain it.
We maintain it, okay. Stephen, do you have anything to add to that? I mean, is that?
I mean, it's in Century, but it's a county facility. Madam Clerk is up there, I believe, tax
Okay,
collector
so
is up
the
there.
clerk has a.
Yeah,
okay.
it's not the town of Century's facility, it just happens to be within the town limits.
That was my question. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you, Stephen. Appreciate that. Okay, please continue.
21 is concerning awarding a contract and issuance of a purchase order in excess of $25,000 for the MC Blanchard Judicial Building Emergency Chiller, number 1. 22 is concerning awarding a contract and issuance of a purchase order in excess of $25,000 for the repair of chiller number 2 at the MC Blanchard Building. 23 is a change order on contract 2122.030 to JRM Construction Group for the Pensacola Beach Park rehabilitations. 24 is a change order on contract 20-21.019 to Hughes and Company for the Bellevue Library. 25 is concerning the contract approval for the construction of the Beulah Fire Station. 26 is concerning the contract award for 21-22.029 for the Otega Subdivision Pond Expansion Project. 27 is concerning the contract award for the Pine Valley Estates Roadway and Drainage Improvements Project, Phases 1 and 2. 28 is concerning the board's action of November 16th, 2021 for contract PD 19-20, General Paving and Drainage Pricing Agreement. 29 is concerning funding for the Navy League of Pensacola. 30 is concerning funding for Marcus Point Baptist Church Hero Sunday event. 31 is funding for Youth Association of Northeast Pensacola. 32 is discretionary funding request by Red Hot's Explosion Girls Softball Team. 33 is concerning funding for the Navy League of Pensacola. And I would like to just say one good thing, if I could, for purchasing. There are a lot of procurement and awards on this agenda. And we are making strides in purchasing. I think Jeffrey Lovingood is doing a great job getting his feet under him. And you're going to start seeing a lot of things coming out and grinding out of purchasing. So I just wanted to.
Wes, thank you for that, and thank you, Jeff, for the work that you're doing in purchasing. While we're talking about purchasing, can I just ask you, Wes, when do we expect to see the OLF 8, 84.5 acres coming forward with, or is that in purchasing right now, or who's got that for action?
Debbie's got the draft, and I would expect her to have that complete very soon. I know she's pretty close.
Okay, and part 2 of that question is on an unrelated topic. We've talked a lot about jail medical and the costs going up. My understanding from a meeting last month is that the RFI or RFQ, the draft is ready to go, but I never got it.
Well, what I've done is I've forwarded that draft to Kristen Huell.
Okay.
And to Jeffrey Lovingood.
I want to look at it.
For review. Well, I want them to review it so
Okay.
we can make any necessary changes.
And then send it.
And then send it to you guys.
Before it goes on an agenda.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Discussion items, you're still up, Wes.
Yep. Number 1 is concerning an appointment to the Opioid Abatement Funding Advisory Board. Y'all need to make a selection. 2
Yeah,
is.
we got 2 people on the list, guys. We put this out. It's a pretty important board. You know, I'm okay to make a choice tonight, but was there any feeling that we want to cast another net and see if we get more folks in? I mean, it's up to you guys, or we can make a straight up choice tonight. Any thoughts on that? No? Okay, all right. Next.
All right. 2 is concerning the county administrator's appointment to the Opioid Abatement Funding Advisory Board.
Okay.
And 3 is recommendation concerning appointments to the Opioid Abatement Funding Advisory Board, acknowledging the city's selections.
Sounds good. All right. Thank you very much, Wes. Anything on Wes's items? Seeing none, Allison, you're recognized for your report.
Yes, sir. There are currently 2 items. One is the foundational resolution to establish the advisory funding board, which you've already agreed to do in the interlocal with the city of Pensacola as required by the Attorney General. So it's just housekeeping. Item 2 is, hopefully we don't need it, but just scheduling a shade meeting in one of our litigation cases for next Thursday. Just as a reminder, you currently have the impasse hearing with the ATU scheduled for 8:30 that morning. It's hoped that we won't need that, so that's the reason that this timing looks odd at 8:25 a.m.
And I was going to ask you about that. If, in the event that we need the full amount of time or more time on both of those, even though they're advertised at those times, they can be pushed back the day of, like we do sometimes.
Later is okay, earlier is not.
Yes, ma'am, understood.
All right. And then I do hope to add during the day today the deed for the TPO.
Thank you very much, that's very important. Okay, Robert, you're recognized.
Yeah, I was asked to present the EMS and the corrections today to those individuals.
Okay, is that one of the proclamations?
Yeah, those are 2 proclamations.
Okay,
So-
hang on, let me make a note of that. Were we going to ratify those and present them elsewhere, or are we
No.
going to do that today?
Today. Yeah,
Okay.
they'll be here.
Correctional officer, okay. EMS week and corrections?
Yep.
You'd like to do both?
Yeah, unless someone else.
I have no problem at all. You want? Yeah, man, do it. Okay, so.
Driving course, that would be.
But Robert, I had down that Rich Powell was going to give.
I think they're going to accept them.
They're going to accept them, and you're going to give them?
Yeah.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay.
Sounds like a plan to me. All right, and then just for the general public, before we adjourn this meeting, I just want everyone to know, we go through these items very quickly, but the board members are all provided this information in advance. We all have our one-on-one meetings with staff, so we move quickly at this meeting, but we are conversant in what we're studying. We've had time to study it, and we've worked with staff on it, so, and it's all out there for the citizens to see as well. Just always want to make sure people know that. We're not rubber stamping stuff up here. We're
Right.
doing our research.
Mr. Chairman, since
Yes.
we're breaking so early,
Yep.
go ahead and make a point of saying this morning rather than this evening.
Do it.
On GMR action item 3, the at-large appointment to the planning board, I'm going to need to abstain from that, so just to give you a heads up.
Okay, so
And-
Allison, will you get that paperwork?
I already did. The aide for D5 has that abstention form.
So we'll hold that one? We'll hold that.
And additionally, the LET funding item, trying to run across the number. What's the number on the LET funding? 1110. So if we can hold that, I'm going to add some funds to a couple of those.
Okay, yeah, no worries, just
That's
remind me tonight.
Okay.
GMR action item, where we're, okay, which one, GMR 3? Okay, we're, 2-3, GMR 2-3, hold. Okay, we're going to hold that. We have that indicated. All right. Okay, anything else, Stephen? All right, we're adjourned. Yes, ma'am?